I want to do as much as I can for everybody around me, and that's why I kind of wanted to do this.
Welcome to Understanding the Unhoused. My name is Joshua. Through a series of interviews with individuals who are experiencing homelessness, my intention with this podcast is to increase compassion and empathy for the unhoused. When people see an unhoused individual, they can feel fear, anger, apathy, sometimes all three. My hope is after hearing their stories, hearing what it's like for them on a day-to-day basis, it will make it clearer that these are just people. People who, through a combination of bad luck, bad choices, and, let's be honest, a broken system, have found themselves without a roof over their heads. Okay, enough ado. While scrolling through the homeless subreddit one day, I came across a post from Lee that was very insightful. She agreed to be interviewed, and we got to talking about the journey that she's been on for the last 12 years, experiencing homelessness in San Pedro, California. She is in her early 40s, a mother of 3, and has faced so many challenges, but remains hopeful and positive for the future. I hope you find her story enlightening and motivating. Please enjoy the interview.
Thanks for reaching out, Lee. I really appreciate it. What is your current situation?
Currently, I have been staying at a friend's. However, that's going to be coming to an end in about 7 days. So.
Oh no, why?
He wants his space back, you know?
So what happens to you?
That's kind of up in the air right now. I've been looking into homeless shelters and women's shelters. I have a tent just in case. That's the last thing I want to do, though, is go back out there. But
tell me about the circumstances that led you to be unhoused.
Well, for context, I'm 43, and it started a long time ago. Was raised in Riverside. My parents were pretty strict, and I ended up getting pregnant when I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah, I was given an ultimatum from my stepdad to have an abortion or leave, and so I left. The father wasn't involved. He basically broke up with me in the parking lot of the clinic the day my mom told us to confirm the pregnancy, and so he wasn't involved. And that night when I got home, my dad and my stepdad were already there, and my mom, she said, we're just going to have a little meeting. We sat down at the kitchen table, and he gave me that ultimatum. He said, if I can't have a kid in this house, you can't have a kid in this house, and whatever. And I looked at my mom and my dad, kind of like wondering what they were thinking, and they didn't say anything, neither one of them, which is strange.
So what does that mean, that if he can't have a kid in the house, you can't have a kid in the house?
Well, my mom couldn't have any kids anymore.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the weird thing is my mom got pregnant when she was 17, and my dad was 18. They were supported by my grandparents. You know, my grandparents said, whatever you want, whatever you guys want to do, we'll support you no matter what. And they ended up getting married and had my brother. But when it happened to me, they kind of, they didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. My dad didn't offer, hey, you can come stay with me. I think in a way it was a scare tactic from my stepdad. I wasn't about to go through, you know, an abortion, so it didn't work. I tried to go back to school because this is on a Friday that I ended up leaving, and tried to go back to school on Monday, and I was told that if I was there, they were just going to have to report me because my parents had reported me as a runaway after that. I was scared to go back to school, and I dropped out in January my senior year.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. They told all my relatives, my grandparents and stuff, not to help me, that they wanted to basically force me to go back home. And so I didn't have anybody. I was just out on my own. My best friend, her parents convinced me not to help, and being out and living in my car, and it kind of led me to the wrong people. I was offered help by people that really weren't trying to help me, trying to help themselves, and abusive relationships followed. I wasn't really able to create a safety net for myself based on, you know, no job and new baby, and stuck with people that wanted to control me. So leaving those places was very difficult. And then I kind of started getting back on my feet. I got a job as a manager of tire sales for Bridgestone Firestone.
Nice.
And yeah, that was really good. And it it felt good. You know, it finally was like the point where I could feel proud of myself for something. That led to me meeting I have 3 kids total. So I had my son, and then I had 2 more with somebody else. That's where I met their dad. I ended up, it was a weird situation with that. I was working for Firestone, and I got sick. I needed to go to the doctor, and I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. I had 2 scheduled days off after that, and so I didn't go to work. And when I got back on that Friday or Thursday, I walked in, and my manager told me, he said that I was 3 days no show, no call, and I was being fired.
Whoa.
Which, yeah.
But
so
you had 2 days off.
Right.
What's that about?
I think it was because of the pregnancy. They didn't want to, the maternity leave for Firestone's pretty generous. I didn't think they wanted to deal with it. That income, and then I was kind of stuck dealing with my now ex over that, because he was all about the money, and he was very angry that I wasn't working there anymore.
Wow.
And
Now, during the time that you were working at Bridgestone, did you have a place to stay?
No, I
with
had
the new baby?
I had an apartment in Ontario.
Okay, good.
That was just, me. I had a roommate, but I wasn't with anybody until I met their dad, and after I lost the job, then I ended up moving in with him. That's where the abuse started. He also tried to force me to get an abortion. He lived in Big Bear, so he was bringing me down the hill every chance he could to try and force me into the clinic to have an abortion with my daughter, and I couldn't do it. And he, the last time he took me down there, he ended up destroying these signs that these people had out front that they were protesting the clinic, and he threw a chair through one of them and started this big old scene, and I'm over by the car crying, just stop it, this is crazy. And when we got home that night, he threw me down a flight of stairs.
Lee,
Yeah.
that is okay. And were you okay? The baby was okay? I take it.
Yeah, she was fine.
Okay.
It was just a eye opener, He had been aggressive before that, verbally, but never physical. That was it terrified me after that, and it didn't stop.
Yeah.
I was with him for 10 years. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. The last time he put hands on me, or he didn't actually physically put hands on me, he ran me over with my car. And
wait a second. He
yeah,
ran you over with your car?
This was 10 years after that. That's where I ended up leaving him, obviously.
Yeah, good. That's, wow.
We went from Big Bear to Catalina Island to get away from him.
Okay.
And I had my 2 kids with me. My other son, that's another whole story. My other son was with his dad at the time. Yeah, that's a pretty brutal part of the story too. But in Catalina, I was working at the restaurant, but I was struggling because I was afraid that my ex from Big Bear was gonna come out there and get me and the kids or hurt us or something, He had threatened me for taking them and whatnot. And he was afraid he was gonna have to pay child support, and that was his biggest issue, and scared all the time that he was gonna show up. The harbor department had his picture, and if you see somebody get off the boat that looks like this, and
wow,
and stuff like that. And it ended up, I had a nervous breakdown from it. And
wow, I'm so sorry. That is awful.
I ended up sending my kids to their grandfathers because I was so messed up from everything and needed some time to get treatment. And I ended up leaving the island and coming to San Pedro. That was in 2012, and I've been here ever since. Every time I seem to start to get up on my feet and I get an opportunity to do something to change my situation, something weird happens. I got a job at a music studio where they actually gave me a studio to live in while I worked there. And
wow.
It was kind of cool, but
yeah,
it ended up not doing because the manager, he was, I was doing a lot of work for him. I was helping them rebuild studios and bringing in more clients, and I hosted a wedding there. And
damn, okay.
He was telling me that if I worked for them and if I showed, effort and whatnot, he was going to try and get me a position at another studio that his boss had just opened up, and I would be a manager there, and so I'd have an apartment and whatnot, and so I was working my butt off to get that, and come to find out, the owner of the company didn't have a clue I existed.
Oh.
So the manager of that studio was taking all the credit for everything I was doing, and the owner didn't have a clue I was there, so that was a hard hit. That the owner didn't know of me, I ended up having to call the cops to get my belongings out of the studio, and
Sure.
that was the first day I was actually homeless.
Wow. That must have been very, very scary.
It was rough. It leaves you very vulnerable to everything. I mean, the elements, the law enforcement, other homeless people, housed people that don't understand, you know.
So how long total would you say you've been homeless?
12 years.
Wow. Have you had any breaks in that? Have you been able to?
I did for a little while. I had gotten a job serving at the coffee bar at Nordstrom. I did that for a while and was living in my car while I was working there. I was working there for about 3 years. And
you lived in your car the whole time?
pretty much, yeah.
That is intense. Just a reminder, never judge what people are doing because you never know what they're going through.
You got to be presentable, and I was pulling it off, you know?
Yeah.
I had a very good friend who had a boat in San Pedro at the marina. And
Oh, nice.
He allowed me to borrow his parking permit and the key for the restroom. So
Excellent.
we had showers in there, and I was able to take care of what he needed to take care of and then sleep in the parking lot, and I wasn't hassled by the cops or anything.
It's good to hear about people that are willing to help their friends, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
For like a month, I had an apartment that I was able to get into. That's why I said it, like, for the most part I was in the car, but I had gotten into an apartment for like a month and went to go pull my rent out on the second, the beginning of the second month. And my bank account was empty. And I had been putting everything in there for like a year.
Wow.
I get a letter when I talked to the clerk for child support for my first child. They had pulled everything out. They put a
They didn't give you a heads up before that? They just did it and then told you?
Mm-hmm. It's probably because they didn't have an address, and they were they were stocking my pay from Nordstrom as well. So they were not only taking that, like the 25% or whatever it was, that they seized the whole account. And I had had a cushion, for a couple months. I had to tell my landlord I can't pay this month, and he was like, "Oh, you gotta go," After that, it was back in the car and trying to figure out how I was going to pay this child support off. And when I lost my job, at Nordstrom, it was because they were moving from Redondo Beach Galleria to Del Amo. It was another mall. And they made us reapply for our jobs. All 6 of us that worked, there in the restaurant, the E-bar. After 3 years, and then no write-ups, no nothing, no disciplinary anything, and they just said, well, you don't really fit the new store, but you're essential to the closing of this one.
Oh, Lee, I am so sorry to hear all of this. Okay, so.
And then my license got suspended after that because of the child support. So then
Wow,
I couldn't drive.
They can suspend your license because of back to child support.
Yes.
That makes no sense. Those two things are not. Okay.
This January, they did send me a letter saying that I could get it back, which I did just, in the past month or so, I was able to get my license back so that I could work, because they have the median income or whatever on there. Like if somebody's on welfare or low income or whatever, then they were offering their licenses back so they could work.
That's a rare bit of generosity from the system. That's nice to hear.
But I don't have a car anymore, so it's like this.
Have you ever had to be in a shelter?
Yeah. The shelter isn't what, people make it out to be. It sounds good on paper, but to actually be there, it's almost safer to be out on the street, to be honest with you.
Can you talk about your experience there at all? Or?
It was in one from, over the years I've been in multiple, but The first time I ever went to the shelter, I had all my belongings were stolen, and I woke up to a woman, an older woman, assaulting me, or trying to anyway.
Wow.
And they didn't do anything about it. Like, I woke up the whole dorm or whatever, the old room, caught her doing what she was doing, and they basically just kicked her out for the night, and that was it. And I left that next day, and I never went back. But
yeah, it's probably good. Yeah.
Yeah, it shook me pretty bad, like, and the fact that they didn't care, really. It was like it was something that happened all the time. That was the first time I trusted that situation. And
sure.
then the second time I was in for a couple of months, and it was actually this last year. I went in August, and I stayed there until about January. We were working with a worker, me and my most recent relationship or whatever. We were working with a worker and they told us that I had a cat living out on the outs because they wouldn't let me take him in there. And so I was going out to where my encampment was, all the time to check on him and whatnot. And they said that since you already started working with a housing navigator, if you exit, you still be able to work with that navigator. And so I was like, well, okay, awesome, because they were going into our stuff when we weren't there, and I didn't appreciate that. And so I decided to exit. I sent an email to my worker, and I said, thank you for everything you've done for me, and now that we're working with the navigator, I'm going to exit the program. And then immediately the navigator dropped contact with us. He sent one last email saying, you have a new housing navigator, and you're going to be working with her. And that was it from him. Like, there was no explanation. There was nothing. And then the new navigator she worked for maybe 2 weeks, was sending a bunch of apartments that were way out of our price range and way out of our area, And so I'm like, I don't know anybody out there. I don't have, my doctors are all here. I have everything established here. Why would I want to move 50 miles away to a place that I know I'm not going to be able to sustain or afford?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was through the rapid rehousing or whatever. That's only paid for, they paid most of it like the first month and then half of it the second or something, and it gradually, like, over 3 months, by the fourth month, you're paying on your own. So I knew, these $1,400 apartments, I wasn't going to be able to pay that. Then all of a sudden, she was moving to a different job and she wouldn't be able to work with us anymore. But there was no other navigators to work with. I don't have anything. Like, it's all of that work, all of that, everything we went through was for nothing.
Like, you would establish a relationship, you would set up connections to try and get into places, and it just all went away.
Started going to mental health to get that all, those things recorded and on paper. And for nothing, And even through our mental health, they don't have housing. They used to, but they don't offer help with housing anymore. And so there's just kind of nothing. And then we ended up going back to our encampment. One day the cops show up and say, oh, you guys got to be out of here. And then within the next week, they showed up with bulldozers and bobcats, and all of our things were destroyed, and they were threatening to throw us in jail. And, they made us sign stay-away orders, and they dismantled our whole group that has been together for 10 years. You know what I mean?
So you would have like a group of you that had been homeless together, like basically taking care of each other.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing?
Yeah, there was probably 20 of us that have been together for about 10 years, and they separated all of us, and some of them went back to the property or the land where, we were at, but I mean, they tore out all the trees. They destroyed everything, all of our stuff, like everything. People's paperwork, people's medications, we don't have much. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things, but like, if that's personal and like means something to us, we don't have anything, and they destroyed everything they could.
So sorry. That is awful.
And like I said, they made us sign the stay-away orders. And there was something about those stay-away orders when they gave it to us, the paper copy to sign. There was a page the front page had all of the rules about whatever they wanted us to sign, but the signature line was on a separate piece of paper at the top of the paper with nothing else on it.
Nothing around it. Wow, that is really suspicious.
Right? That was my first, what are you going to attach that to, What am I actually doing? And that still irks me because I had seen a couple of the stay away orders that were signed by other people, like previous to this, that, because they showed up randomly and they caught like a couple of people here and a couple of people there. And the first couple of stay away orders that I saw were worded, they looked different than what I had been given to sign.
Really?
It really bugged me, to think like, what did I attach my name to and what did I agree to without, but that's one of the reasons why I haven't been back over there. I still have all those, not all of them, but a good majority of people went back over there and I'm scared, scared to go check on them and because we were all a family and I was kind of the one that people came to for advice or anything, and I felt like the mama bear kind of,
Like a responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think about them all every day. But
what do you wish would be done differently in this system?
I really wish that the stigma would be lifted. People don't choose to end up on the streets and dirty, hungry. It happens the way it happens, and it can happen to anybody, really. Overnight, sometimes, I think. It did for me a couple times. But if the stigma was lifted and people actually looked at the, like what you're doing, if you see the stories and if you allow people to explain themselves, I guess.
And just have some dignity, treat them like actual people.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed over the years of doing this is the common thing is as soon as you become unhoused, you lose all status any status that you had in society. It's just
right.
And it's
it doesn't matter what you've done before. It just matters
where you are at that moment. That's why I'm trying so hard to get as many voices out there in the hopes that the right people will hear it.
I know what LA is trying to do.
Yeah.
In preparing for the Olympics, and that's where I think that it's getting worse. And it's sad because, like I mentioned in that Reddit post, they're playing hot potato with human lives, and they're just kind of shoving us from one corner to the next. And they'll tell us 10 places we can't go, but there's no room in the shelters, even if we were wanting to go there. I think there's only one shelter in San Pedro. But yeah, they can't tell us anywhere we can go. We're just supposed to disappear and be vapor and go to Wilmington. That's what I've heard one of them say. And Wilmington's right next to San Pedro. And to make it their problem now.
Yeah, exactly. They just want to shift it to another city.
And it's, with any community, with any population, there's going to be the people that can't meet, the standard of living or whatever, the income levels and the housing prices and stuff. There's always going to be these people that are struggling, to try and keep up. Be compassionate about it instead of just being like, oh, you all are drug addicts and you all deserve to be out there and just go hide under a rock so we don't see you, When they could be, with the Olympics coming, that could be an opportunity to give us work, to help us, get back on our feet. And
yeah, exactly.
That's not going to help anything. It's not going to solve the problem. The problem's always going to be there if you just keep brushing it under the rug. I've thought of ideas for even just the aesthetics of it. If there's an encampment there and there's able-bodied people working or living there, work out a deal between Caltrans or law enforcement or whatever. We'll bring you in a dumpster and we'll bring you in a couple of porta potties. Clean up after yourselves and have the sanitary things taken care of. But at least then it's opening up that chance for trust to be built between us and them,
Absolutely. And again, it's giving you a little bit of dignity at at the very least.
Right. If there's nowhere to send us, if there's nowhere else for us to go, and we're in this situation, then at least let us, show that we're willing to pick up after ourselves and do
Exactly.
this. And also, like, with the local businesses and stuff, like, you try to go get a job, and they know that you're homeless. They've seen you out on the streets or whatever. They recognize you.
Yeah.
But you can't travel out of the city to go find work, for somebody not to recognize you. So maybe build up, like, an incentive, like, whatever, like, come and volunteer, like, do, apprenticeships or whatever, anything, like, to help remind people of, one, their own skills, because a lot of people out here have, skills that they don't use. And then even just the social aspect of it, like, where you get social anxiety, and with, being around the housed when you're unhoused is just like, it'll break you, it'll break you.
So how do you cope with it?
Well, just as I was able to maintain, my job at Nordstrom, I am one of the types that I will not walk down the street, with a bunch of bags, and I make sure that I'm presentable and clean, and, no matter what it takes for me to do that, people don't assume that I'm homeless right off the bat. It's not until I usually tell them that they realize that. That's always been one thing that I've focused on, is not necessarily coping, but it's just maintaining, trying to at least maintain appearances as well as possible.
That has got to be so hard for you.
I don't know. I think I feel stronger for my group and the people around me, that I try to stand up as much as I can for them, because they don't have, the ones that still, they don't do the same thing as far as, like, physical, maintenance and whatnot. Like, I'll be seen with them and I don't care. Like, they're my friends, or, but I want to do as much as I can for everybody around me, and that's why I kind of wanted to do this, just to help you with your efforts.
Thank you. No, thank you. And that's actually that kind of leads into a question I had. What brings you joy?
Other than my writing, which I guess that would be one of my coping skills. I don't know, looking at that question.
Well, it sounded like helping people.
Yeah, for sure.
Gives you a good feeling.
That's basically what I do, is I cook, I used to cook all of our meals for the camp, and I don't know, I was always kind of that one that kept us all together and everybody, at peace, because there was a lot of times where there's conflict and drama, and
of course
I was able to kind of be the mediator a lot of the time. But
that again, that's a skill in and of itself, but to be able to have that skill out there when you're going through everything else is very commendable. The very first person I ever interviewed for this she basically ran an encampment in Fremont, and she had been there for like a dozen years, I think, and was just like, that's where people went. If they needed anything, they'd go to her, and she was awesome.
I was the one with all the, I had a big tent, and I had sleeping bags and pillows and extra blankets, and if anybody needed anything, they'd come to me, and I would cook them up if they needed. And I've been called a hoarder and whatnot, but no, that's why I had all the stuff.
What advice do you have for someone either about to be homeless or is homeless?
Don't let the opinions of others bring you down to the point where you don't want to try anymore. Don't let society break you of your spark. That can happen.
Hi again. Thanks for listening. If you know of any unhoused individuals that would like to be interviewed, or you would like to submit an interview yourself, please reach out to us through the website, understandingtheunhoused.org. Click on the contact button, send us a quick message. We'll get back to you as soon as we can and get things moving. Also, while on the site, if you're feeling generous, please click on the donate button. There is a very low overhead for this podcast, but there are costs involved. Thanks again for listening. I hope after hearing these stories, you will have a little more compassion, a little more empathy, and a better understanding of the unhoused.